Frank and I were the first to arrive for filming. Everything was ready until they looked at me and asked, "Who is she?" Just minutes later, a police unit, a CPN security team, and a 5-person crew rushed in to set up communications. It was clear this was no ordinary day. That same morning in the quiet suburbs of Nashville, the famous bus known as Danielle Colby Mobile Hideout was suddenly surrounded by FBI agents. No media cameras, no public warnings, only a federal search warrant and an operation cloaked in secrecy. What were they looking for and why the silence? Don't forget to leave a comment with the number 1 if you sympathize with Danielle Colby, or 0 if you have a different opinion. If you're curious about the truth behind it all, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel to see what happens next. What was discovered inside not only confused the investigation team, but also left the entire American Picker crew, who had worked with Danielle for decades, in a state of complete bewilderment. Inside, they found items that had never been recorded in any production logs. A bizarre mask with no mouth, a sound device emitting a voice indistinguishable from Frank Fritz's voice, and a digital map marking 7 deadly locations linked to unresolved cases. From the mysterious symbol to money being funneled through a front company, every clue pointed to a hidden, untold story. So what really happened inside that bus? Why did the entire American Pickers team choose to remain completely silent about this event? And is Danielle Colby merely a touring artist, or is she hiding a much darker secret? The bus is not just a high-performance vehicle. Danielle Colby's 1973 GMC bus is no ordinary high-performance vehicle restored at a private shop in Chicago with costs exceeding $89,000. The bus showcases an extraordinary aesthetic illusion, swirling purple, orange, and turquoise hues blending like a surreal mobile painting, adorned on one side with the phrase, "House of Moxie," which serves both as an artistic slogan and a personal statement from the owner to the American Pickers audience. The bus represents eccentricity, classic style, and creative freedom, but for those working behind the scenes with Danielle, it's a mysterious and somewhat unstable environment. The interior of the bus is divided into 3 areas: a resting compartment, a small stage, and a quiet room at the back, which Danielle strangely calls the Tower of Consciousness. The front section serves as her living space, where she rests, reads, and occasionally receives close trust on the shelves containing dozens of volumes on symbolism, alchemy, and ancient philosophy. Multiple times, the logistics assistant described Danielle meditating for hours in front of an antique round mirror, its pedestal surrounded by purple candles. The isolation she imposed on the back room, sealed off so no one else could enter, led many to call it the Forbidden Ivy. Dredd, a touring comedian who performed with Danielle in 2019, recounted hearing Danielle whisper in a language unlike any she had encountered before when standing in front of the mirror. "I've performed with the strangest artists," Ivy stated in an anonymous interview. But Danielle, she shifted into a transgender-like state. Then she appeared as though nothing had happened, smiling, fixing her hair, and performing as usual. A backstage technician responsible for operating the lights during the 2021 burlesque tour confirmed witnessing Danielle light candles around the mirror, holding a small wooden statue and murmuring phrases. "At that time, I thought it was a private ritual," he remembered. "But after learning about the 2003 disappearance, I began to worry about the mystery of the bus when some crew members reported that on new moon nights, Danielle would ask everyone to turn off all electronic devices and leave the bus for at least an hour. When asked, she would only reply, 'I need time to cleanse.'" Some people thought it was superstition. Others joked that she was chanting spells. but no one could have imagined that those cleansing hours would become a crucial link in the federal investigation over the next 6 months. The question raised is, why would a burlesque artist need a triple-locked room, dim lighting, and ceiling with wax? The answer, as noted in the FBI's preliminary report, may lie in the correspondence of these activities with the ancient liturgical band in 17th century Europe, particularly the spiral symbol engraved multiple times in the back compartment. In fact, Danielle's bus, once a mobile icon of art, had begun to shift from a creative space to a ceremonial room. When the FBI opened the back compartment that morning, they not only discovered stage props, but also uncovered evidence of something unprecedented in American reality television. The bus was no longer just a performance tool, but also a catalyst for an event that, to this day, still cannot be precisely named. Why did the FBI target Danielle in the raid? Danielle K's bus was not an impromptu act. According to leaked internal documents from the Department of Justice, the FBI had been monitoring Danielle for nearly 6 months before initiating the initial investigation. This did not stem from any episode of American Pickers or her public behavior, but from a case that had been closed nearly 2 decades ago. The mysterious disappearance of a scholar named Ezra Lang in April 2003 in New Orleans. Ezra Lang was a specialist in symbolism, particularly in pure symbolic systems related to Western medieval secret societies. The Louisiana State Police filed records stating that the last time he was seen was leaving a secret gathering at the Gothic St. Hubert Church, known for its strange legends related to mystic rites. His disappearance left no clear trace except for a small bloodstain on the tile floor and a notebook filled with spiral symbols and an eye, identical to the symbol later found on the mask inside Danielle K's bus. The case file was closed in 2005 due to lack of evidence, but in early 2024, the FBI received an anonymous report referencing a video that Danielle had posted in 2018, depicting a burlesque ritual at a theater in Louisiana. Notably, the location in the video was near St. Hubert, and the date of the ritual coincided exactly with the 15th anniversary of Lang's disappearance. A line in the report was marked in red ink. She is continuing what he couldn't finish. Even more concerning was a call to the FBI hotline from someone claiming to be a former member of Danielle's tour crew. According to this witness, they had encountered Danielle in the back compartment of the bus, where she placed a small wooden statue covered in black cloth in the middle of a spiral-carved wooden table. That night, they happened to overhear her whispering inside the locked room, "Tell me the thing Frank never knew." This information prompted the FBI to reopen the Lang case and review Danielle's full performance schedule from 2003 to 2005. There, they made a staggering discovery. In April 2003, right at the time of Ezra Lang's disappearance, Danielle, then an unknown performer, had performed a variety show at the Green Thread Theater, less than 800 meters from St. Hubert. The church, the coincidence of time and geography was too important to overlook. The FBI also determined that after that performance, Danielle suddenly left New Orleans and did not return until 2018, the year the aforementioned burlesque ritual video was recorded. A strange pattern of behavior emerged, with a cyclical retreat occurring every 15 years from this point onward. A task force was established under the code name Project Oculus, led by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Energy. The mission of this task force was to verify whether Danielle Colby was involved in the activities of a secret society believed to be called Oculus Veritas. According to documents restored from the Vatican archives, Oculus Veritas was an extremist branch of the ancient Hermetica tradition. The group is said to have conducted rituals to open the mind's eye, freeing resonant memories through symbols, sound, and the activation of objects. Some rituals are alleged to cause forgetfulness, self-destructive behavior, and mass psychological disorders. The main symbols are a spiral eye, a mouthless mask, and an unconventional routing diagram, all of which appeared in the back compartment of Danielle's bus. After collecting enough evidence and assessing the risks at the federal level, the FBI presented a high-classified search warrant to a special court. The search warrant stated, "The subject may possess objects related to psychological rituals affecting the mind in an electromagnetic and controlled lighting environment." And then, on a quiet early morning, the bus was surrounded. No cameras, no press, no explanation. But when the back compartment door opened, what was inside not only changed the course of the investigation, but also forced everyone who knew Danielle to face the truth. No one was prepared to face a third of what the FBI found inside the bus at 6:12 a.m. Immediately after completing the outer perimeter lockdown, a task force consisting of 4 federal investigators and 2 evidence specialists proceeded to unlock the back compartment of Danielle K's bus, commonly referred to as the ceremonial compartment. According to an internal memo shared by an FBI source with the Post, the search took more than 90 minutes just to remove the seal without damaging the structure of the compact room, only 3.5 square meters, fully soundproofed, lined with black leather and ebony wood, with no windows and no natural light, only a dim yellow light hanging in the center of the space, illuminating an antique wooden table carved in concentric spiral patterns. One symbol that experts in symbolism are familiar with is the sign of Oculus Veritas. The first artifact that forced the agents to halt the inspection and call in a specialized evidence analysis unit was a mouthless mask forged from an unidentified alloy, adorned with a red stone at the forehead, placed in a velvet-lined box. The wooden box was sealed with red wax, spiraling around a single eye. At the scene, preliminary measurements detected weak magnetic radiation similar to the initial data logging devices. Researchers from the Department of Energy's Artifact Analysis Division later reported that the elemental composition of the alloy did not match any samples in the global material database, which clearly indicated that this was not just a stage prop. While 2 investigators were taking photographs of the scene, a sound emerged from a compartment beneath the table, and an old real estate broker's recorder was running on its own, without anyone touching it, through the amplifier. The task force recognized a trembling voice as the tape began. "I'm not sure where I am. If anyone hears this, Frank..." Frank's call froze the entire group's voice. The voice analysis software later confirmed an 82% match with Frank Fritz, the co-host of American Pickers, who had passed away the previous year. But the horror deepened further at the 4th minute when the sound of the tape became distorted. Frank's voice disappeared. Instead, there was an unidentified voice, deeper, speaking in a language described as close to Latin but not exactly. The phrase was repeated 3 times. Vidier ni paradest. The rough translation, "Do not look unless you are prepared." In a second cabinet to the right of the room, the investigators discovered a digital map displaying 7 GPS coordinates. Cross-referencing these coordinates with unsolved crime locations in the U.S. from 1998 to 2023, they found that 5 points exactly matched locations of disappearances, mass suicides, or unexplained psychological phenomena. One coordinate was only 2 miles away from Mike Wolf's home, co-founder of American Pickers, which shifted the investigation from a ritual theory to a potential personal connection. Furthermore, in a brown suitcase with a biometric lock opened by the fingerprint previously collected by the FBI, the agents discovered financial documents related to a shell entity called Unveils LLC, registered at BICE. This company had received regular transfers from a branch based in Iowa, sharing a former address used by a business branch of Wolf. The transfers lacked descriptive memos, instead using payment references with encrypted symbols, spirals, an eye, and the symbol 7.02, which a cryptographer later explained as a ritual, with 7.02 indicating the last phase of the lunar cycle embedded in the ceiling panel. The team found 3 wooden-bound notebooks, handwritten and protected by encryption. Although still being decoded, the first page of the first volume had a line written in red ink. Frank heard it, and no one is allowed to hear when securing the evidence. The FBI sent the items to 3 expert units: the Center for Symbolism Analysis at the University of Chicago, the Department of Anomalous Psychological Research at the Department of Energy, and the Crosspur Task Force of Interpol's Ritual Objects Division. The initial findings shifted the case from possession of unusual artifacts to organized mystical activity with potential psychological risks across the community. Under ultraviolet light, the mouthless mask revealed spiral characters hidden beneath the alloy layer, invisible to the naked eye, a symbol matching the engraving on a ritual stone discovered in the Valley of Lawyers in France, a 17th-century oculus veritas. Professor Manuel Rios from Complutense University of Madrid stated that the shape of the mask adheres to the golden ratio, with the depth of the engraving being precise to the micron, far exceeding ordinary stage props. Regarding the recording, the FBI's AI analysis confirmed an 82% match. The voice matched 6% with Frank Fritz, but also noted unusual harmonic waves, as if a second layer of sound had been applied. A signal processing expert from Stanford commented, "This is not just a recording, but a frequency programmed to be recognized at specific times. This aligns with a report from a technician who heard whispers at 3 a.m. on new moon nights, a period traditionally considered neutral in rituals." Another important discovery was the encrypted GPS map, stored on a hard drive hidden within the bus's frame, as outlined in the report sent to the Department of Justice. The FBI described these 7 points not only as locations of past disappearances, but also as recurring nodes of unexplained abnormal behavior. Although the press has yet to see any official leaked records, one coordinate is located on land previously owned by Mike Wolf's family. Wolf has declined all interviews and set his social media accounts to private since the raid. Unveils LLC has been registered to Danielle Colby and received 8 transfers from Riverstone Holdings LLC between 2017 and 2022. Riverstone was founded by Iowa investors, including a supporter of American Pickers Season 1. A contract accompanying the transfers is named Creative Management Consultancy, but there are no substantial records supporting any activities. At a classified press conference in Virginia, an expert from the Center for Anomalous Psychology stated, "These objects are not only historical or artistic, they are vehicles for transmitting consciousness, as if someone is trying to control another's memory." Space. A simulation showed that individuals exposed to the mask exhibited a sudden spike in heart rate and a marked suppression of alpha waves, only seen in a pre-hypnotic state. The FBI immediately imposed a 72-hour internal contact ban on all evidence, allowing access only through remote interfaces. The mask and tape were designated as Level 3A cognitive affecting objects. By this point, the public began to realize that this was no longer a story about a rebellious artist, but about what experts call outdated energy, transmitting an artifact that was never meant to exist in the 21st century, now found in a reality TV star's bus. And the urgent question raised is whether these objects can affect the mind, what Danielle used them for, and with whom. When the FBI expanded the review and classification of the items seized from Danielle K's bus, the focus quickly shifted to a brown suitcase hidden under the futon bed in the rear compartment. This was not an ordinary travel suitcase, but one reinforced with a titanium alloy frame and protected by a biometric lock that could only be opened with a fingerprint verified by the sample previously collected under the search warrant. The lock opened immediately, confirming that the suitcase was directly owned by Danielle. What do you think is hidden inside Danielle K's mysterious suitcase? Leave a comment, share your thoughts, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to uncover the next shocking secrets together. What was inside prompted federal financial investigators to immediately request the encryption of the workspace. First, a series of fragmented financial documents were found, including records of regular transfers from 2017 to 2022. These transfers were made from a company called Riverstone Holdings LLC to another entity named Orchid Vale LLC, which Danielle herself represented and was registered at BICE. In total, there were 8 transfers, each ranging from $14,000 to $38,000. Strangely, the transaction memo lacked the usual descriptions according to Fininson records. Riverstone Holdings LLC was registered in Iowa and had previously maintained an office at the same address as an initial branch funded by Mike Wolf, co-founder of American Pickers. Although Mike's name did not appear on any legal documents, a supplementary agreement was found in the suitcase with the signature MW, matching Wolf's public signature from 2009. This agreement, titled Creative Management Consultancy, did not specify any services and had no records of any family activities. Another file in the suitcase contained handwritten notes in ancient symbols, arranged like a ritual notebook, one of which described the mouthless mask with the code C3.14 marked on its forehead. The same name appears in Interpol's declassified records about the Oculus Veritas Society. One annotation describes that the ritual associated with this mask must take place when the light does not reflect, understood as during the new moon phase or when the mirror is hidden at the bottom of the box. There was a small wooden-bound journal with leather straps, old and fragile, which was Danielle's personal diary, written in a mix of classical Latin, English, and untranslatable symbol clusters. The passages written in red ink were framed as highlights. Frank heard it, and no one is supposed to hear. This sentence prompted the special investigation team to examine the connection between the recording on the bus and details related to Frank Fritz, particularly the unusual circumstances surrounding his voice in the final days of his life. Spectral analysis of the recording revealed low-frequency echo signals, a technique often used in frequency programming to trigger latent memories. This discovery aligned with a diagram in the journal illustrating layered sound flow aimed at awakening images never before seen in the journal. It also contained 12 additional pages of text written with metal-infused ink that changes color under ultraviolet light, with notable phrases including, "The past does not die, it is only re-encoded. We speak not because memories cannot endure the light, and the mirror only opens when the viewer has seen themselves in it once." From financial records to ritual instructions and the signed consultancy agreement, the FBI concluded that this was no longer an artist performing regular private work. Danielle was operating within a multi-layered financial and symbolic system, where the transfers were not of money, but of memory. The coincidence of time, location, and the complex encryption was too precise to be considered random. The investigation team decided to classify the case under the model of integrated memory transmission through ritualistic media, a term first introduced into the federal internal records. In all the seized works, Danielle did not write as an observer, but as a guardian. Her notes were not meant to aid recollection, but to ensure that no one else could remember those events. All answers still lie hidden in her silence, but the FBI is now certain of one truth. The bus was just a shell, and inside it created a system of memory transmission and rituals that transcended the boundaries of contemporary culture. The connection to Oculus Veritas became clear as the seized evidence was gradually decoded. The clues began to form a map not only of individual events, but also of the connection between a contemporary figure and a secret society long erased from official records. Oculus Veritas. What was discovered in Danielle? KBY's bus was not just a collection of ritual artifacts. It included a series of symbols directly linked to the lost manuscripts of one of the most dangerous and mysterious branches of the 13th century, Oculus Veritas, the Eye of Truth. First appearing in a Latin codex sealed by the Vatican in 1433, this society broke away from the mainstream secret lines with the belief that truth could not be transmitted through speech, but by transmitting memories through ritual. Their symbol was an isolated eye surrounded by a double spiral, which was banned across 18th century Europe after a series of disappearances in Bohemia, where witnesses claimed the victims saw something and then chose to disappear. The connection to Danielle first appeared in 2003 when the Green Thread Theater in New Orleans hosted a small comedy performance featuring an anonymous dancer. Listed on the paperwork as Danny C. Louisiana City Records confirmed that Danny C. was Danielle K's first stage name. Notably, this date coincides with the disappearance of Ezra Lang, who had presented his analysis of the Oculus Veritas symbol at the University of Tain just 3 weeks before he disappeared. A archival video, preserved by a crew member, shows Danielle dressed in black performance attire, holding a round mirror and facing a single beam of light, reciting phrases in an unidentified language. Phonetic analysis revealed that approximately 68% of the speech matched medieval Latin, interwoven with ancient Anatolian linguistic structures. Notably, the footage was recorded on the exact day Lang disappeared, and in a fleeting shot behind the stage, a shadowy figure wearing a hooded cloak stands next to an object resembling a mask placed on a small stone pedestal. Ezra Lang's journal entries. Issues the truth remain a source of scholarly speculation, with scholars hypothesizing that Danielle is not only an investigator of Oculus Veritas, but also chosen to inherit its lost liturgical knowledge. She may represent a living archive, a concept referenced in the secretive Barum text, emphasizing that the role of the mask wearer is not to conceal the face, but to serve as an intermediary between reality and the forbidden memory that cannot exist in speech. The investigation shifted further when the FBI obtained an Interpol report detailing the 2001 theft at the Symbolism Archives in Florence. Among the stolen items was an original copy of the Codex Obscura, the ritual manuscript of Oculus Veritas, of which only 3 known versions still exist. The first page of that manuscript contained a red ink annotation identical to the one found in Danielle's suitcase journal, which Frank had heard and no one was allowed to hear. In the current investigation, analysis of the bus's playback devices revealed that the electromagnetic frequency emitted by the mouthless mask matched frequency 211. The 7 Hz resonance described in CEX Obscura is the frequency that opens the third tier of symbolic memory. The resonance model was recreated by experts at Stanford University, overlapping spiral patterns, mirrors, and eye motifs that match exactly with the mask found inside Danielle's bus. In a classified seminar in Berlin, leading symbolists reached a provocative conclusion. Danielle was no longer just a witness. She had become a connection, or worse, the convergence point of a ritual system designed to preserve memories beyond the usual capacity of historical preservation. There is no document in which Danielle explicitly acknowledges a direct connection to Oculus Veritas, but through the artifacts, video maps, journals, and resonance frequencies, her involvement is undeniable. While no one can assert that she is the mastermind, everyone agrees on one point. Danielle Colby serves as the gateway between the modern world and a chain of powers once buried by time. When news of the raid on Danielle Colby's bus immediately captured public attention, it revolved around an important question regarding how the American Pickers team, with Danielle as the sole representative of the essential eccentricity for over a decade, would respond. However, instead of defending, clearing her name, or making a clear statement, what the public received was silence. Mike Wolfe, the founder, co-host, and longtime friend of Danielle, was the first name the press sought after the incident. In the past, Mike and Danielle were considered the most dynamic duo in the world of antiques. The reality TV show they toured together appeared in interviews, events, and podcasts. But once the FBI officially confirmed their investigation, Mike Wolfe's social media accounts were suddenly set to private. All posts related to Danielle, especially those featuring her tour bus, vanished without a trace. A scheduled appearance by Mike on Good Morning America in the middle of the month was canceled at the last minute. His representative only offered the following statement: Mike currently does not wish to comment as a public figure known for his openness, even though he is willing to share personal matters on the show. The sudden and absolute silence was highly unusual. Media analysts began to wonder if Mike knew something he couldn't or didn't dare to reveal. Soon after, History Channel, the official network of American Pickers, issued a statement. Episodes featuring individuals under investigation will temporarily be removed from our platform. This move was widely interpreted as a decisive break in relations with Danielle. 38 episodes featuring her were hidden from the library, with some even edited to remove her. The matching voice and any scene involving her loyal audience were seen as a historical purge of reality television. While some commentators called it an attempt to erase evidence of a dangerous connection, an anonymous backstage technician who had worked with American Pickers for over 6 years recalled, "Danielle always drove that bus to the set, parking it right behind the production area. No one was allowed to enter the back compartment. When I asked Mike about it, he just shook his head and said, 'Don't be curious, don't look behind that curtain.'" When a young director tried to film the bus scenes during backstage shots, Mike interrupted him. "Don't film, don't touch, don't mention it." The situation became even stranger when a TikTok clip from a 2019 episode went viral, showing co-host Frank Fritz, and longtime colleague of Danielle, telling Mike, "I saw her walking around the bus at 2:00 a.m. holding that round mirror. When I asked, Danielle just said, 'I'm considering a different time.'" Mike Wolfe simply smiled and said nothing in response. In light of recent events, many viewers have speculated whether this was a usual TV joke or a hidden warning beneath the laughter. Frank Fritz's family also broke their silence. Although they did not make any official statements, their lawyer told the press, Frank felt something was wrong. And now we know he was right. The story became more complicated when Frank's relatives released an excerpt from his personal diary found in his apartment, which read, "I saw Danielle in a dream. She was standing in front of a mirror, whispering something. When I asked, she just said, 'Don't open the box.' But I still looked and saw something I couldn't unsee." A former crew member also shared that Mike had once warned, "If any of you are planning to open the back of the bus, remember that there are some things once seen you can't unsee." Those words now echo as a serious warning, but directed at whom and concerning what? In this context, the silence of the American Pickers team is no longer just a public relations tactic, but has become the greatest mystery. What are they afraid of? What secret does Danielle Colby hold that causes everyone who has stood by her to turn away? If there is an answer, it lies not in what they say, but in what they dare not mention. Danielle, key or locked individual? Danielle. Colby was once a coordinator, the unifier, the one who breathed life into the raw world of antiques. But now, in the eyes of the entire federal investigation apparatus, she is no longer the storyteller, but someone caught up in a story much bigger than herself. A story that, according to many experts, emerging assessments suggest she can no longer control. Since her detention, Danielle has remained mostly silent. According to reports from the Tennessee Detention Center, she has refused all interrogations, declined to communicate with the appointed panel, and even failed to respond during routine psychological evaluations. However, her behavior is not passive. On the contrary, it shows a rhythm and systematic repetition that analysts are forced to examine more closely. Danielle spends an average of 7 hours each day meditating in her cell, with no music, no bright lights, just sitting motionless with her eyes closed and her hands resting on her knees in a posture she maintains for hours on end. When emerging from this state, she uses the morning tea kept in her cup to draw symbols on the wall, repeating spirals, interlocking circles, and occasionally the motif of an eye. No one has yet decoded the meaning of these symbols. According to a report by an FBI expert, these symbols match 91% of the symbols cataloged in Interpol's records regarding a broken mystical ritual in Greece in 2004, an incident related to the Oculus Veritas Society. Dr. Marcus Emmes, a neuropsychiatrist at Johns Hopkins University, describes this phenomenon as latent symbolic contamination, a rare response caused by prolonged exposure to consciousness. The resonance images, according to Emmes, such as the mouthless mask, the encrypted GPS map, and the recurring Latin command, "No light vidir ni paradi estais," can induce altered states of consciousness, ranging from visual obsession to fragmented memory. If what the FBI found on the bus is authentic, he hypothesizes that Danielle may have been affected by the very artifacts she possessed. However, this is just a hypothesis. An alternative perspective was presented by Dr. Annabelle Trent, a scholar in symbolism at the Smithsonian Institute, who argued that Danielle was not a victim of forbidden knowledge, but its guardian. "We are not dealing with an artist who accidentally stumbled into a dangerous game," Trent argued. "Danielle arrived at the right place at the right time, and her behavior is not one of fear but of understanding." Trent emphasized that Danielle had never denied or sought to defend herself. Silence was not weakness. but the ultimate form of control. A leaked internal record from the detention facility documented a note from the guard at 2:43 a.m. Inmate Colby Rose studies the wall and whispers in an unidentified language. The phrase was repeated for 7 minutes. "I am not the keeper, I am the mirror." This statement prompted the investigators to reconsider all the carvings on her wall, and they realized that the symbols were not individual patterns, but when connected, they formed the structure of a cognitive map. Some experts speculate that this could be a form of cognitive code, not intended to convey discrete information, but to maintain a stable state of consciousness for the author. Therefore, the question arises, what is Danielle trying to protect? Or as she once wrote in her secret journal hidden behind the bus panel, "If I speak, I will no longer be myself, and what lies within me will choose another." Notably, in the classified sessions of the FBI task force, a new hypothesis emerged. Danielle was not the architect of this system, but a node chosen to receive, transmit, and if necessary, lock away information when it exceeds manageable limits. In other words, she is a living memory, and the presence of the mouthless mask is symbolic of the guardian of truth that cannot be further spoken. This supports the theory within ancient symbolic traditions, where individuals entrusted with objects of cognitive power often had to swear silence, not in the literal sense, but as a voluntary adjustment of communication to preserve the integrity of the message. If this is true, then Danielle's silence is not born from fear, but from an action to protect what words cannot convey. Only the state of existence can transmit the incident related to Danielle. Colby's bus is more than just a habit of searching. It marks the beginning of a series of unanswered questions. Who truly holds control over the objects found on the bus? What happened between Danielle and Frank Fritz before his sudden death? And if those symbols, mapping the mask and the recording, are part of a larger system, where is the rest, and who is guarding it? Danielle still chooses to stay silent, and so does the American Pickers team, but you don't have to. What do you think about Danielle's true role? Is she a guardian of secrets, or a dangerous link in an uncovered conspiracy? If given the chance, would you choose to uncover the truth, or turn away like so many others? Don't forget to leave a comment with the number 1 if you sympathize with Danielle Colby, or 0 if you have a different opinion. Hit like, share this video, and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the next dramatic secrets we uncover. See you in the next video.